Hey there guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do a class tier list for the brand new MMORPG called Tarisland, and I wanted to give you guys my overall opinion on the current class standings, where these races and where these classes currently sit, and how much fun they really are. So right now I've played quite a decent amount in the closed beta, and I'm definitely been playing on the actual North American server. We are 48 hours post-launch, and I figured this is kind of like a good time to go ahead and make this video. I didn't want to kind of just rush in with my overall standings because I really wanted to get a good feel of how the classes really play out when it's, during the actual launch. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully you guys either agree or disagree. Let me know in the section down below what your thoughts are on the classes, what class you're currently playing, and whether or not you have alts. Because I have seen there's quite a few people that are, switching back and forth, still a little bit undecided on what class they're going to play, and that's totally okay. Take your time with it. It's a mobile game. This game is specifically tailored for those folks that maybe want to play a game like World of Warcraft that can't kind of sit at their PC for long extended periods of time. So, take your time with it. It's supposed to be fun. It's a free MMORPG. Don't spend too much time really, trying to define whether or not you really want to play a certain class. Really get to know each class, play each class for a couple of hours, and then make that final decision. Now, I will go ahead and give you guys a little bit of like um, bit of information I think might be helpful to you guys in case you haven't run into this situation yet and you might come across of it is that let's say you make a character and you pick that you're going to play a I don't know, maybe you're going to play a Shadow Swordsman, and you play the game for about 2 hours and you realize, you know what, I really don't like the Shadow Swordsman, I want to try a range class. If you want to use the same name and you delete that character, unfortunately, you will not be able to use the same name. So I'm going to give you guys that bit of warning right away. When you are picking your classes, be very careful not to use the name you actually want to use until you're ready to make that character. So if you're one of those people that's kind of still undecided on which character you want to build, make sure you decide on that actual class and then pick your name. Guys, you're gonna run into the same mistake that I did, which is I named a character named Odin, and then I decided, oh, you know what? I want to change to a Paladin. And next thing I know, I can't use that name. So just a little bit of information on that, guys. Keep in mind. So hopefully, 6 months down the road they change that, but for now, something to be very cautious and conscientious about. Pick your name carefully, very, very carefully. So right now, in my opinion, the top two or the top class right now inside the game, and my reasoning for this is the hybrid utility of the class is the Paladin. So the Paladin, is really good right now because it can be a tank and it can be damage. The damage itself is not going to be very great. It's probably around like the A tier, but I'm putting the Paladin in the S tier because of the how much fun it is to play as a tank. Now, if you've ever played a Paladin in World of Warcraft, very similar concept. Couple different little, niche things that kind of belong with the class. Things like, stunning, immunity shields, a bit of a heal. There's a bit of range damage as well. So it kind of has everything put together very, very well. And the combos inside the game for the Paladin are actually really, really good. So for me, if you're really wanting to know what I'm playing right now, it's going to be the Paladin. So, it's going to be very different for each one of you guys. Maybe one of you guys really wants to do high-end damage dealing. Unfortunately, it's not going to be the Paladin, but it's definitely going to be top tier for tanking and top tier for fun. And the reason why I say fun is because there's no queue times. When you're playing a tank, your queue is instantaneous. Whereas if you're playing a pure melee or a pure damage class, you might have to be stuck in queue waiting for a little bit. So right now, in my opinion, top class right now is for a tank at the very least is going to be the Paladin. Really fun class to play with. I love the skills. So go ahead and give the Paladin a try. The worst thing you can do, like I said, is you play it for, 20, 30 minutes and you test it out. And if you don't like it, switch back to another class. It's really that simple. For me, next right up there is going to be the Phantom Necro. Phantom Necro is absolutely busted right now when it comes to AoE damage. You can go in very, very under geared and go into a high class, raid, and you're doing solid numbers, and it's because of that AoE damage. Especially if you know your rotation pretty well, it's going to do outstanding amount of numbers. Healing, likewise, excellent healer. I definitely would put her still up there under the S tier. The specialization between the healing and the damage dealing is actually very, very similar when it comes to the combination of skills you got to use. So playability wise, it's actually really, really good. It's very intuitive, and definitely enjoy the class. I do have a Phantom Necro right now. I think his level is like 23. So I've spent a little bit of time, and I'm definitely, hopping between my two characters. So, right now I'm staying largely free to play. I'm a dad. I have a kid. There's a lot of other expenses and things like that. So I'm not going to be spending, thousands of dollars trying to become the best player. But I am going to be having quite a bit of fun. And so I kind of just want to make sure that you guys understand my take on this is that this is to have fun. So choose a class that is fun, not as an investment, but something that you invest in to have fun. Not as in a currency investment, I guess is what I'm saying. So, all right. So for me, the S class tier right now is going to be the Paladin and the Phantom Necro. Next, that I'm gonna go ahead and basically throw this up there as well, and it's really, really tough for me to say, whether or not I want to put them on the S tier or not. It's gonna be the Bard. Bard for me is sitting right around the A, and I'm gonna explain my reasoning why. Maybe some of you guys that are playing a Bard will assimilate and kind of understand where I'm coming from with this. The Bard is an extremely, extremely great damage dealer, and it's also a fairly decent healer. And again, another reason why I'm putting him in an A. The healing, in my opinion, is not as fun as the Phantom Necro. The large reason why I'm putting the Bard in the A tier for me is because I just can't stand the music that comes out when you're playing the class itself. Every click, every spell does a musical sound. And you can be doing it for about, half an hour and it just starts to get irritating. And as much as I want to listen to, character fighting, I don't want to hear music every time my spells are hitting. I want to hear a boom, right? So for me, right now, I know a lot of people are enjoying the Bard. Again, really great set of skills, really great playability, replayability, easy to do dungeons with them. You can again queue as a healer, so your queue time is much, much easier. The interchangeability between the damage dealing sets and the healing sets is not that bad, so you can kind of play with the same gear with the Bard. But in my opinion, really why I set him back down is really because of that, annoying sounds, and because his healing is really honestly like, it's pretty good, but in my opinion, not as great as the Necro. And the Phantom Necro, in my opinion, should be like a sub healer. So that's where I'm at with the Bard. And you guys, again, let me know in the comment section down below whether you agree or disagree. So. Guys, if you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. If you're new, it really helps me out a lot, especially since I am trying to kind of regrow my channel a bit, since I've been out of the YouTube, game content creation for quite a bit, but I am starting to come back. So I just wanted to go ahead and put that out there. All right, the next class that I'm going to go ahead and rank over here, guys, is going to be the Shadow Swordsman. I mean, this is kind of like really, a no-brainer here. The Shadow Swordsman has essentially a top tier single damage CPS right now in the game. There's really no contention for him. Um, it is a little bit tricky to play him because most of the spells inside right now with some of the bosses are very, very AoE driven, and they're very up close, and they're very unforgiving. So, in order to play a Shadow Swordsman, you got to know what you're doing, man. So I'll go ahead and give him that S tier. But if you're having trouble, you have bad connection, you step on that fire, you get caught up in that explosion, you get caught up in the wrong spell or stunned, you're dead. So, again, S tier because of the damage, and if you're good, quality player, you're going to be up there. But if you're not, unfortunately, you're either going to be sitting under A or as low as B if you're not geared out well as well. So, something to note right now for a lot of you guys. It's either going to be sitting on the B if you're a free-to-play player or an A if you're a free-to-play player. If you're a whale and you're a pretty high skill set person, you're going to be sitting on the S tier with the Shadow Swordsman. So, something to keep in mind. Next class that I'm going to rank up here is going to be the Barbarian Fighter. The reason why I'm putting him on the A tier, for me especially, it's just the fact that he's kind of like the same as the Warrior. Um, yes, he's wielding axes. Yes, the combination of skills look really cool because he's more thunder driven, but in essence, he's essentially a warrior, in my opinion. And again, take this with a grain of salt, guys. You guys feel free to butcher my playlist any way you want, but to me, he's kind of sitting up there in the A. And again, it's just because I find him very, very repetitive. It could also be because of the fact that I played the warrior first and then I played the barbarian fighter. So, it could be a little bit of that. Maybe I was just kind of running down. But, again, I decided to make this playlist after spending the same amount of time on every single one of these characters to really get a feel for all the skills. And just so you guys know, I leveled all of them to at the very least level 20, which is around like 3 hours, 4 hours. So, but yeah, guys, I think that's kind of where I'm sitting right now with the Barbarian Fighter. Like I said, I really love the skills. They look really cool. So, like from a fun perspective, he's definitely still sitting at A for me. To me, he's not really S tier. The damage is just not quite there. The tank, same thing, is not really quite there. You are susceptible to death if you don't have your cooldowns in the right rotation. So just be aware, Barbarian Fighter, really more fun for damage dealing versus tanking. But up to you guys. I'm sure there's some skilled players that can definitely make that class shine. But for me right now, it's sitting right around the A tier. Next, again, I'm going to go ahead and cover the warrior. Again, I don't know what it is about this class. They did quite a few fixes, quite a few buffs on the warrior class before the launch, literally a week before the launch. And I still kind of think that he's really lacking when it comes to damage. Tank-wise, he's okay, but he's just not that fun. I mean, once you know the rotation, you're just spamming that same rotation over and over again. And you could say that a lot about the other classes as well, where once you know the rotation, you're spamming it over and over again. But it's more so about the fights. And right now, a lot of the bosses, they don't move around too much, especially like, the big raid bosses. It's more about dodging and evading some of their skills, and that's where I find it very, very boring because you're kind of just sitting the entire time in the same spot. Of course, you're dodging a little bit of fire here and there, but or some AoE damage here and there, but most of the time you're just standing there taking it. You know about you guys, but I'm not the person to stand there and just take it. So there you go. That's where I'm sitting right now on the warrior. Next, I'm going to go ahead and really say that the Ranger is actually really, really good. Um, in my opinion, she's sitting at the A tier because her damage, even though it's amazing for single target, it does lack in a little bit of AoE. Unless your enemies are really bunched in, you're wasting a lot of spells. Unlike the Phantom Necro, who has a pretty large area of effect, the Ranger really does not, and you're kind of really limited to your pets and that volley. So, for me, it's sitting around an A. And I myself am a little bit disappointed. I'm hoping that maybe she does get a little bit of a buffs, or maybe, with some pretty solid wallet input, she could be really, really good. But for me, right now, she's sitting on the A tier. Honestly, I know I keep going back to the Phantom Necro guys, but really, I'm in love with this class and I'm in love with the Paladin. They did those classes very, very well. They're very well balanced between switching, the different talents and specializations. So for me, they're sitting right there. Next for me is going to be the Priest. I'm putting her on the B tier. And the only reason why I'm putting the Priest in the B tier is because her whole purpose is to be a healer. The damage is kind of really subpar right now. She could be close to the Bard's damage, but you really need some really solid attributes to make her really kind of shine up there. So for me, she's sitting on B tier. Um, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that love healing. I am not one of those people. So again, this is my opinion on where this tier list currently sits. So for me, she's kind of sitting on the B tier. The spells for me for the priest are very lackluster. Like you're getting like a bubble, you're getting a shield. You're getting a little bit of like, some yellow glowing spells on the screen, and that's about it. Whereas, you look at somebody like the Shadow Swordsman who's just like, spitting out red, green, blue colors all over your screen. Hers is just white and you can barely see it. And 90% of the time, you're not even looking at the spells. You're looking at the health bars, trying to keep everybody else alive. So, something to note there, guys. For me, really, they need to do some work on the priest and they need to do some work on the warrior to make them stand out a little bit more. Next, or last but not least, definitely the mage. Mage is sitting, in my opinion, at the same level as the Shadow Swordsman. You could really be sitting between B and A if you're a free-to-play player with some decent gear. But if you're a whale, you're definitely sitting on that S tier. Some really high burst damage. So for dungeons, holy man, I've seen some folks come in here and nuke out like, 40, 50 million in about like 4 or 5 hits with a mage with some really, really good gear, decked out. So, for me, Mage is still sitting right up there. But when it comes to playability, it really comes down to your skill set. So, make sure you guys give each one of these classes a try. But, for me right now, I'm going to say that this is kind of my current ranking. Paladin, Phantom Necro, Shadow Swordsman, and Mage right up top, followed by the Bard, the Barbarian Fighter, the Ranger, and then the Warrior and the Priest. So, that's it for this video, guys. I don't want to make it any longer than it already is. I'm going to go ahead and stop right here. Let me know in the comment section down below whether you agree or disagree with my rankings. And I'll catch you all in about 4 or 5 months from now when we redo this tier list, where hopefully that we have added a new class. Because I do know that the plan is to add another 2 more classes. So we'll see whether that happens in the next 6 months or a year, or it could be 2 years, like, Diablo Immortal. I think it took like a year or so. So that's it for this video, guys. I'll catch you all on the next one. Thank you all. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.